what would Jesus have said? What would Jesus say now? Could you envision Jesus saying such a thing? It's weird, not once in my career, because I've gotten some crazy complaints, all right? But not once in my career has anyone ever said to me, you're going too far, you're violating your witness, you're an embarrassment to your faith for criticizing Democrats. Seems to only happen when I'm criticizing Republicans. And then it's never really about whether what I said is true. It's really about the fact you don't want to hear it. Well, here, I have good news for you today. Since prior to 2011, Donald Trump spent the previous 50 years of his adult life as a Democrat. I'm still not criticizing Republicans. And now for some substance on yesterday's completely predictable betrayal. Daniel Horowitz, our prophet of lamentation and woe, joins us for his weekly stop by the program here on CRTV. Good to see you, my friend. I'm guessing you're about to bring the pain. How are you?
Look, there's really not that much pain, Steve. I mean, didn't you know MAGA meant make amnesty great again?
I pointed that out at the top. And you know, Daniel, it's weird, too, because it's not like we had a lot of ample evidence out there that this guy was just full of shinola. He was largely an unknown. I mean, we didn't really know much of... Never mind. Anyway, what happened last night, Daniel?
No, I mean, it's very simple. This is what happens when you have only Democrats in your administration and the commander-in-chief himself is a Democrat. See, I mean, the last time I checked, the president's pretty significant. You know, it's funny. Everyone's really influencing this president, but he himself has no influence. Anyway, look, what happened last night, obviously you and I could gloat all we want, that we predicted every bit of this, not just the positions he's taking, but the Kyrgyzstan version of the parlance, the priorities, the focus, the straw man arguments. I mean, I dealt with this for 12 years.
He literally tweeted the Chamber of Commerce's talking points and the Democratic Party's talking points on this issue this morning. Like he was a literal stenographer for them this morning.
I mean, it's brilliant. I don't know. I couldn't have gotten it down to a T better than he has in 7 months. He learned pretty well. It comes pretty natural. They're all in the military. They're the highest educated, highest skilled people, despite the fact that Pew says Mexican immigrants are, you know, the reality is they're the lowest educated, the lowest literacy rate. But anyway, and then this is not amnesty. This is just a pathway to legalization. This is DACA, which should be a four-letter word, by the way, for conservatives. Instead, that's now idealized as, no, this is something different. What you're seeing now is something very simple. When Eve ate from the fruit, it said that she saw it was pleasant to the eyes, it was pleasant, she had a pleasurable experience, and was like, hey, let me repeat this, because you're always going to repeat a pleasurable experience, and then you're going to share it with your husband and your friends. Trump is obsessed with the media. His entire constitution is oriented towards what the media last said about him. To me, the most telling quote was an Axios article that said after the debt ceiling sellout, he said, the media has been incredible. And if you notice, the media has actually been pretty good with him recently. To me, that tells me this is the new paradigm.
To me, the story is what is left of conservative media and the conservative movement when this is over. And I'm not interested in gloating about this. I'm hammering people with this. The same reason Nathan goes to David's house and says, thou art the man. I'm trying to get people to see. Do you understand what you have signed up for? Because it was clear during the last election and primary cycle, having substantive topical discussions about the issues, Daniel, was not going to do it. No. They just wanted to believe that they wanted to believe Cheeto Jesus was their golden calf. Okay, so I'm going Moses down from the mountain, ordering Aaron to lay down ordinance in order to get people to finally admit. See, we can't change this. We can't correct this if people keep becoming self-righteous, self-delusional, doubling down on this, not wanting to hear it, wanting to believe he's to blame. There's always somebody else to blame other than Trump. I mean, yeah, we've got some people, Ann Coulter's out there actually now advocating for his impeachment when this time last year she was writing In Trump We Trust. That's both of those positions, by the way, are probably scams. But that's my concern here is, to me, he's a liar. He can't inhabit the same space as the truth, and none of this surprises me. And I've known him longer than almost everybody in our industry has, and most of the people watching right now. That's why I was never Trump, and that's why I'm not surprised by any of this. I wasn't never Trump because I'm Bill Kristol, God bless him, nice guy, but I'm not him. Or Michael Medved, another nice guy. I'm not him. Michael Medved was very nice to me when I was at Salem, but, I don't think John Kasich's the future, okay? The reason I was never Trump is because the guy's a liar. There's no truth in him on any level whatsoever. He simply didn't have the moral character for the presidency. And we're seeing that now. So my concern really isn't nana and boo-boo, stick your head in doo-doo. I told you all along. My concern is, when are you going to wake up? We use a theme song to our show every day here on CRTV. You want to know what the title of that song is, by the way? The title of the song is Wake Up. When are people going to wake up so we can get about the business now of the adults taking charge, cleaning up this mess, and trying to have some semblance of a movement when this entire fiasco is over?
No, and it's also a short-term problem. I really care about this issue, and this is why I didn't vote for Trump. This is why I am the only immigration hawk who didn't support him, not just in the primary, but in the general election. It was because of this point. Because I knew what he would do, and what Trump kind of is, he's kind of like creating a nuclear bomb, and then the other side captures it. So not only don't you have the nuclear bomb anymore, the other side has a weapon that they would have never otherwise have gotten. I fought amnesty in 2006, 2007, 2010, 2013. Every time it gets harder, but when we get the truth out, we always launch a counterattack and we stop it. This is a serious problem. I'm going to have a piece laying out how this is not 800,000 people. It's a chain reaction politically and legally that will lead to a permanent Democrat majority. This is a huge problem. Not that I care about Republicans, but these people will never vote for us, no matter what party we have, Federalist Party, Freedom Party, whatever you want to call it. This is very serious. We're not going to get anything good done, but we have to stop this. So I'm willing to work with anyone. I don't want to, say, hey, you voted for Trump. Look, let's get to the truth now. But I think you nailed that. You nailed it here. This is not about Paul Ryan. This is not about Mitch McConnell.
No.
This is about Trump, because I'm not worried about Mitch McConnell and Ryan. I could defeat their amnesty. We did it other times.
Man, they ran for president last year under the name Jeb Bush with a $100 million lead head start in the bank, and they got annihilated. I'm not worried about these people on any level at all. What I'm worried about is we had a once-in-a-lifetime generational opportunity in this last primary, and a complete and total con man with the help of Rush Limbaugh, but especially Mitt Drudge and Fox and Friends and the rest of the media, completely allowed him to come right up the middle and split our base and take full advantage of it. That's my concern, is we blew a generational opportunity here, and I'll be damned if I'm going to sit by and say nothing while that may happen again in the future. That's my concern.
And that's why this is the Waterloo of the conservative media, particularly those that so... You know what's funny? Rush Limbaugh, I'm old enough to remember when this man couldn't give a darn about immigration. In 2013, we were really taking on water because it's always one-sided. It's kind of like the Battle of the Bulge before we launched the counterattack. We needed the air cover. We needed that. You really need the base to get engaged on this issue. And he was talking about everything. In fact, on a lot of the budding alt-right websites, there was this whole conspiracy out there that he was bought out and refused to talk about everything else but immigration. Then, when Trump came along, suddenly he was so into immigration. Remember when he was basically saying, oh yeah, I'm for socialism because, you know what, they're giving it all to illegals anyway, so at least let's give it to Americans. And then now, let's see what this man will say. Because this thing, Trump is the one man that actually could do amnesty. Because he has demonstrated he will take people that would otherwise oppose this and get them to support it. If this were President Jeb Bush, we'd swat this down in a minute. Marco Rubio, we could defeat him. But this is a man. This is extremely dangerous. So if you really care about immigration, the worst strategy is to dance around Trump. Is to validate what he hasn't really given us the details yet. We might get some border security. Paul Ryan sucks. No, you got to punch him in the face. And you see by his reaction today, he is very sensitive to that. He's responding to it. You need to maul him. You need to burn him to the ground. Stop getting all hormonal about Trump. I don't care if you're for him or not. This has to be about stopping Trump's amnesty. And let me just close with this point. Rush Limbaugh said 8 years ago, I hope Obama fails. He took a lot of flack for that. And his point was, yeah, I know he's the president, and you naturally want the president to succeed, but once it's clear that his agenda is anti-American, America last, I want it to fail. Well, you know what? A couple months ago, maybe we thought we were wrong, or maybe we'll try to work on some things. He has been so disloyal that even his biggest loyalists have been kicked out of the administration. Yep. There's nowhere to turn. Debt, Iran, what he just did today is unbelievable. It's one thing after another. I hope this man and his agenda fails.
I think Jeff Sessions should resign, frankly. He has been permitted to do almost nothing, and the things that he's been permitted to do are things, frankly, that many of us don't agree with, like his position on civil asset forfeiture. The stuff that he was put in there to do that we are excited about, he's been hamstrung the entire time. And after sending him out there last week to talk about what Obama did was totally illegal, now Trump turns around and does this. If I was Jeff Sessions, I've had a nice run, I'd just walk away, Daniel. I'd just quit. I'd resign, walk away.
He needs to. This is even worse because Jeff Sessions was our biggest asset in 2013. He was called the one-man think tank. Just the data he was putting out, blowing up all the immigration myths. And he had a pretty good staff. All of those people are now behind enemy lines. They're caught in an awkward position at DOJ or wherever else. One guy's in DHS. You got Stephen Miller, obviously, in the West Wing. And they're like, either have to support it, can't say anything, they're neutralized. At least get him out of the administration and let him fight this. Heck, Steve, in some respects, maybe we found the four-dimensional chess after all. Trump appointed him as Attorney General and took our best asset out to fight amnesty.
All right, Daniel, stick around. Don't go too far. We're going to bring you back a little bit later on in the hour with today's roundtable. But yours truly, starring in Fake News or Not, is next. And now, starring yours truly, today's edition of Fake News or Not.
Steve Dace is a syndicated radio talk show host. He's joining me from Urbandale, Iowa. Bakari Sellers is a former state representative from South Carolina. He's in Columbia, South Carolina. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you. Hey, Carol.
Thanks for being with me. So, Steve, Breitbart's headline this morning, Amnesty Dawn. Is that fair?
Oh, it's more than fair. Carol, I don't know about you. I think I speak for America. He was such an unknown during the election. I mean, there was really nothing in his background at all to indicate he was 100% full of shinola, and we're all just, frankly, blindsided by this.
So he spoke again this morning when he arrived in Naples, Florida, and he said there wasn't a deal. He talked to Paul Ryan, the Republican leader, about this. He said that border security would be part of the plan and the wall isn't dead. Do you believe him, Steve?
I don't believe anything he says. And I would advise not a single American believes anything he says either. Wait to see what he actually does. Chuck and Nancy, his new BFFs, he's all yours now. Enjoy the ride. You guys can have a little bit of a taste of what we have endured over here for the last couple of years, which is a total and complete feces show. So knock yourselves out.
Oh my God. Okay. So, but Steve, Donald Trump said this morning, and Sarah Sanders also put out a statement that parts of the wall are already being worked on and constructed. They have plans into the government, like detailing what the eventual wall will look like. So the president is certainly making it seem like the wall is going to happen one way or another.
Bless your heart, Carol, but you kind of lost me at Donald Trump said. Let me guess. It's going to happen in like 2 weeks. That's like his pet answer for everything, like in 2 weeks. Everything is going to happen in 2 weeks. Cold fusion, cancer cures, atom splitting, all will happen in Donald Trump's world in about 2 weeks.
So, Steve puts things in a way that just, they're very serious, but they're very interesting too. So, Steve, weren't you an early Trump supporter?
No, I was an early listener, something I have regretted. I've cried myself to sleep at night many times because we could have killed him here in my home state of Iowa from the outset, and I apologize to the entire country seriously that we didn't do it, and we have been regretting it ever since. And for the last year and a half, I've been warning people. I was one of the first people he ever came to about running for president, Carol, so I've had a really good look at him as a candidate for the last few years. And the reason why I went never Trump is because the guy just doesn't tell the truth. The truth to Donald Trump is anathema. It's like he's allergic to the truth like I'm allergic to penicillin. He simply can't inhabit the same space as the truth on any level whatsoever. He's a maximum narcissist egotist. He will tell you whatever you want to hear. My Democratic counterpart over here is correct. He'll tell you whatever you want to hear in a private meeting, and then if it doesn't turn out the way that he wants, he'll stab you in the back publicly, and then probably go ahead and do what he told you he was going to do anyway, but just try to position it in a way that he gets credit for it and none of the blame when it blows up. Carol, they told me if I didn't vote for Trump, I'd get amnesty, Obamacare, and more debt, and they were right. That's exactly what happened, Carol.
Well, we'll see what happens.
All right, so gentlemen, one thing you didn't see there, by the way, is my Democratic counterpart said, well, so far in the Trump presidency, there's really only been 3 accomplishments. One was Gorsuch. The other 2 was making Obamacare more popular than it ever has been and keeping it, and now amnesty. And so for Democrats, we're very excited about 2 of those. There you can see the results. Our audience, very divided right now. We asked you today, what should the official chronicle of Mr. Trump's presidency be called? 19% of you said Cucks Unlimited. 25% of you said title it Cucky McCuckface. 27% of you want to title it Tales from Cuckistan. And right now, though, barely ahead, Cuck Yeah is leading the polling results. Look at some reaction here from our roundtable as we bring back our weekly prophet of lamentation and woe, Daniel Horowitz. But Todd, I'll start with you. What title would you go with? And what'd you think of Daniel's analysis from earlier in the show today?
Well, there is no wrong answer, but there still is a right answer, and it is Cuck Yeah. That's beautiful. I'd wear it to church on Sundays, quite frankly. Makes me feel all warm and fuzzy. Well, Daniel, thank you for saying out loud what needs to be said, that you oppose this president. A couple weeks ago, I tweeted out loud based on his performance regarding the racial issues that he couldn't look in the eye, that we might as well impeach this guy. I mean, if he can't deal with this, he can't deal with anything. We're dealing with what I think now, at least arguably, is the greatest political betrayal of all time in American political history. Off the top of my head, I can't think another that would rival it, but we've had plenty of dark moments in our history, so I'll at least make it a game. But this is appalling. And there's I believe in the New York Times today, there's a poll that said the number of Republicans that would have not excused the moral failings of Obama were like 30%, but with Trump, the same population would excuse 70% of his failings, about faces, obfuscations. That's the problem, and I think that's what you two were already talking about today. We have a huge Donald Trump problem, but even bigger than that, we have a gigantic us problem.
Aaron.
Yeah, I think we could even get a song going. Donald Trump, Cuck Yeah. I think that would
Kid
be
Rock,
cool.
Maybe?
Yeah. Now you're feeling me.
Don with the Don, the bang, baby. Something like that?
Yes.
Yeah, now
Yes.
we're going. Yeah, a little
Yeah,
ba with the ba is just Don with the con, like Daniel would say. Yes.
Let's cook something up here. Something up, yes. This is
Kid Rock is cooking something up.
Yeah, it's
somewhere on an 8 Mile in Detroit right about now, brother.
This is not a time where I don't think anybody here wants to say, "Ha, I told you so," with the motivation. And I don't know you guys' motivations, but I know my motivation isn't, we were right, you were wrong. My motivation is what you said at the top of the show, Steve. Wake up. I know it's hard to admit that you got conned, that you got bamboozled. And I'm not talking about the people who felt like they had a gun pointed at their head.
Yeah, we're not talking. Some of you are asking us this.
Yes, that needs to be addressed.
Yeah, let's address. I thought I had made this patently clear. It's ironic right now, at a time that Trump is taking off The wolf is taking off Grandma's disguise and showing us Little Red Riding Hood who he really is. Hillary Clinton is out there right now doing the exact same thing, right? So if you're disgusted with Trump, but you are watching Hillary Clinton, who is literally fake news incarnate, and you're watching her and saying, we couldn't do that. You're not who we're talking to, okay? Who we're talking to here are those of you in the primary last year when we had a once-in-a-generation shot, decided to line up with Mr. Trump because Fox News told you to, particularly that dumbass morning show they have, and Drudge Report, and Breitbart and Rush told you to, that you didn't think for yourselves, that you bought this all hook, line, and sinker, that you wanted the show instead of substance after saying for years you wanted substance. You're who we're talking to. That's who we're talking to.
And all of this is on you.
Yes, absolutely. And so, hey, I take some of the blame. People, you're being self-righteous, Steve. How many times have I sat here and said, I can't tell you how often. I just said it on national television today. You just saw the clip. I was one of the first people he came to when he wanted to run for president. I could have snuffed this out right away. I allowed my own anger and bitterness toward the Republican Party establishment allow me to flirt long enough with even the notion of supporting this that I gave him suggestions on who to hire. They helped him get his campaign off the ground. How many times have I admitted this publicly? How many nights have I spent up literally weeping in the dead of night, unable to forgive myself for this, which is one of the reasons why, frankly, I'm so angry. Because I can't forgive my own self over this. I'm not the one being self-righteous. Those of you out there clinging to this golden calf, you're the ones being self-righteous. And you've damn near cost our kids a future. And Daniel, I'll be damned if I'm going to sit here and keep my mouth shut while they might actually pull the same act and do it again.
You know, and that's really the thing. It's right now. I don't even begrudge the people who voted for him in the primary. I understand that. That was a failing of the GOP for so long. People voted for things like, for example, when he said, what is this? The truth is the central issue is not the needs of the 11 million illegal immigrants. Anyone who tells you that that's the core issue has been in Washington for too long. Mm-hmm. That's the type of thing for which people voted for. I actually, if you remember, I had a sense of pride the day after he won the election. Not because I kind of bought into, any sort of change, but the fact that maybe we knew who Trump was, but people weren't voting for that. Well, we knew he was. They were voting for our values.
They voted for the themes that he articulated, which were the themes we were articulating for years when he was cutting checks to all those swamp creatures that he's now cozying up to.
And I don't think it's too late. I think that movement is still there, and that's why this is the Waterloo. This will determine what goes on, because if they care about those things more than the person, I think we could come to some sort of healing.
This is why I'm trying to get their attention. I'm on their side. They're right. What that statement you just read from him, I'm dying to get the chance to say this on national television. Very few people really believe that we should or would actually deport all these people. That's not the point. The point is they've been in office for 8 months, these Republicans, guys. And I don't know where this particular betrayal ranks. It's certainly tied right up there with read my lips, and if you want to keep your current doctor, you can. But when you look at it this way, when you look at the entire Republican Party, they've taken all the political capital and the honeymoon they had with the country after last November, and here's all they've done with it. All they've done with it is Obamacare stays and amnesty stays. When you put those two things together, that together is clearly the worst betrayal in American political history. And I'm trying to help you because I get why you're saying I would love to be in a position to offer these people escaping third world countries compassion. I just would like to know why they get a slot in a university and my kid does not. Frank Luntz is out there tweeting, well, they have jobs that average $41,000 a year. How many people watching? I got people all over America emailing me, I want your show. I can't afford $10 a month for CRTV. They'd love those jobs making $41,000 a year, Daniel. Hell, how many people do we have putting our show together today making $41,000 a year? That's the point of this. We should put the people who actually obey the law and pay the bills, put them first. And then they're in a position to grant compassion to others around the world. The paradigm is reversed. That's what we're trying to speak to here, brother.
I mean, the reason why Trump resonated and the reason why this is the biggest betrayal, I actually agree with Todd, this is the biggest betrayal of all time, because it's not a matter of any one issue. It was the entire attitude behind it, embodied in what you just said, Americans first. And by the way, you could Google my name and Americans first. I've been using that for a long time. I said Americans, not America, just because the Charles Lindbergh, sensitivity there. But the point is, what you're talking about is the social contract, the social compact. Why do we have a government? It's it's like the head of a household, the father figure, head of the household. Your job, of course, you do charity, we tithe, we give her money, but your job is to protect your wife and your kids.
Yes.
And foremost, you're an elected official. You could go open up a ministry in Latin America all you want. You could do whatever you want. But from a public policy standpoint, you have to put American taxpayers first.
That's exactly right. Why was the number one group Trump made inroads with in 2016 old aging whites? These people voted 20 years for Democrats. How many people voted for Obama twice and then voted for Trump? Here's why. Because they're my stepdad, who for years was a union carpenter who didn't even step on a job site, Daniel, for less than $20 an hour. Didn't even step on site for less than $20 an hour. Ends up taking early retirement because illegals are doing all these jobs for $7-8 an hour and no benefits. That's the question. My people like my stepdad would love to give all compassion he can, but he's got to pay his own bills first, Daniel. He's got to pay his own bills first.
When you turn America into Mexico, you get Mexico, and you don't do good for anyone. America has to remain the beacon and the light for the world. And again, but it's not just immigration. It's the attitude behind everything, foreign policy. We are going to have our interests first, America's interests first. We're going to build Pittsburgh, not Kabul and Baghdad. He's doing the exact opposite. It's America last on every single front. The stuff that McMaster's doing, the stuff that Tillerson's doing, obviously the Iran deal now. The point is, it's not just a enumeration of betrayals.
That's an excellent point that you're making about what Todd said. What you're essentially saying is, beyond an issue, this Peter Pan from Manhattan latched on to people's legitimate cultural angst and essentially just used it for a one-night stand. That's essentially what you're saying, is that he latched on to people's legitimate cultural angst, disabused it, manipulated it just to get his own jollies of a temporary fix, a high, a hookup, an accomplishment on his life resume, the one thing he hadn't done yet, only to, once he got in there, then just stomp on all their hopes and dreams the minute he arrived. That's essentially what you're saying right there. That's a con.
But the thing is, Steve, after you have that high, life's got to go on. You got to eat. And the nourishment and the eating is not with us. It's with them. It's with the swamp.
Well, they can have them. It's funny. They're all. I've been watching some of the liberal media today. They're all confused, guys, about where they stand because they're not sure. They thought I had a deal last night, and I said it earlier today on HLN when I was on. I said, "Hey, Chuck and Nancy, your new BFFs, knock yourselves out. Now you're about to get a taste of what we've all been through over here for the last year and a half. Enjoy the feces show." Daniel, good to see you, brother.
Take care. Until next time.
Indeed, and there will be, I am very sure of it, a next time.